Hello, friends. It's Friday afternoon. Hurrah! We made it. Sorry, that's Oban in the background, just running around, chasing his ball, actually. Or actually, I'd probably say being chased by his ball. Weird as that may seem, but that's Oban for you. Well, he's a working Cocker Spaniel, by the way, if you're interested what breed of dog hangs around with a fellow like me. Right, so I don't know if you watch cricket. I don't know whether you love cricket. I don't like cricket. I love it. It's a great tune by MCC. MCC? Got that completely wrong. 10cc. MCC, by the way, Marylebone Cricket Club, is housed in Lords in St John's in London. It's the home of cricket. And I'm a member of the MCC. Actually, I've been a member of the MCC for several decades. Probably one of the youngest members at the time of getting my membership, which isn't a particularly long story, but back in, let's say, 53 years ago, or 52 and 6 months years ago, my grandfather and my dad were both members. And in order to be to recommend a member back in the day, 50 years ago, you had to be proposed by one member and then seconded by another. Luckily, my granddad and my dad put me on the list for membership at the age of 6 months old. Now, you can't do that anymore. The rules have changed. One, you have to be over 18 to be added to the list. So in order to get your membership, you could be getting a membership way into your late 60s, I would have thought, unless you've played cricket for England and other rules. But anyway, I stray from the subject, which actually, if you've been listening to a few of these podcasts, you'll realise that I often stray off the subject of the podcast into different directions, into different avenues, into different vignettes, into different modes and stories and stuff, which is all right, right? Considering that somewhere in the region of 23,000 people have listened to this in 104 countries, there must be a little bit of gentle rocking in the right direction, let's say. But I stray, my friends, off the subject. So the reason why I stray off the subject into cricket, by the way, is that the title of the podcast or this blog is actually called "And the Covers Are Off." And the absolute significance of that is, if you've ever watched cricket particularly in the United Kingdom in the summer, it all too often rains during the test matches, during the big matches. And when it rains, in order to get the playing surface playable in between the rain showers, they put covers over the cricket square, or actually a large part of the outfield as well, where the bowlers run in and where the slips are and stuff, to try and keep the moisture off of those areas. But they put the covers on. And there's never really a well, it's kind of like, oh, the covers are coming on, i.e. meaning the rain's about to tip it down, but equally so. And if you ever listen to Test Match Special, which I think is broadcast on BBC Radio 5 Live or 5 Live Extra, it's actually a brilliant channel for listening in the background, probably a bit like this podcast, actually, and just hearing leather against willow and banter and stories about cricket and stuff. Obviously, if I actually ever was to be featured or actually part of that broadcast, I'd probably be saying, doesn't the grass look nice today? Isn't it playing well? But look, when the covers come off after the rain, there's a big, oh, the covers are coming off. Brilliant. Game on. And to some to some extent, let's just say When the covers come off, it usually signifies time to sit down and drink less, because when the covers go on, if you're going to be hanging around the cricket ground all too often, uh, or in the case of if you're hanging around at Lord's and you're a member in the long room, you're going to be hanging around in the long room and the bars around the long room, and there's all sorts of actually. There's the bowler's bar in the pavilion, and there's another bar upstairs. Don't know what it's called, but yeah, there's a few bars in. There's a really cool weird bar actually right up the top. I should know what it's called, but the balcony is about the size of a small head. Let's say it's tiny. From memory, you very rarely stand on the balcony, even if there is a balcony. It might not be a balcony there, but to look out the window, that's all you can do from that bar. But anyway, where am I going with this? The covers are off. The covers are off, my friends. So, if you've been listening to the podcast over the last few weeks, you'll know that a number of renovations have been carried out. And that's a common theme, probably, for a lawn care business like mine, or what I do. So, in order to, let's say, birth a lawn, give birth to the lawn, is you have to renovate it. So, you have to get rid of the moss with a moss killer application. Then you have to get rid of the moss through a scarification. And then you have to get rid of the thatch through a double scarification. And then you have to, in some cases, aerate the lawn, but not always. And then you have to overseed at the appropriate rate with the appropriate grass seed. And then you have to dress the seed off with a duvet, was the word someone used recently. A duvet of compost. Just to keep the seed nice and warm, as long as you water it correctly, but don't overwater it. And then after the duvet of compost has gone down, put the germination covers over to stop play. Of the play being the play of the birds and nature and the cats and the dogs that might be bimbling around in the garden. But underneath the covers, my friend, is a very happy germination site. Given a bit of moisture, given a bit of rain, given a bit of warmth, i.e. ground temperatures around between 6 and 10 degrees, the seed will germinate. Now, as a footnote, not all of the seed doesn't germinate at low temperatures, but most of the seed will all germinate at temperatures when the ground temperatures are over 10 degrees. Some of the grass will germinate earlier than that. But let's say the finer grasses, the better quality grasses, not the chunky fat rye grasses, but the better grasses will need better conditions to germinate better. So here's the thing. Today, well, actually, less than a week ago, I went to the particular lawn that I went to today. It's around about 130, 140 square meters, fully renovated. And when I went there a week ago, there wasn't much grass to be seen. But if anything, there was a little bit of murmurings from the weeds that I didn't even know was there, because it was such out condition lawn. But once you got rid of all the rubbish, the weeds are to be found because they're probably living in the thatch or living in the moss or living somewhere, or they were just there. But to try and kill off the weeds before is not a very good idea and not very easy, really. You could be a little bit unsuccessful with that, actually. So doing retrospective weed control is not such a bad idea as long as everyone understands what we're doing. So the grass needs to... where am I going with this? Sorry, bear with me, friends. Get back in the room, Phil. So the covers are off today. The grass has now grown. Lots of it. There's no seed now visible that needs germinating. It's all done. And the covers were off, my friend. And the play can begin and the growth will ramp up. Once the grass really gets that maximum exposure of the sunlight and the warmth, it will grow 10 or 15 mil a day. It really will kick on. Particularly as after the covers come off, the feed goes down. Of which there's two particular feeds that I've used today. One is a granular slow release feed, which will help the old grass recover and the new grass grow a little bit. And I've also put in a bit of seaweed, liquid seaweed, to just kind of help the roots develop a bit. There's more to share about seaweed, but we'll talk about it another day. But anyway, look, my friends, if you've never watched cricket, watch cricket. If you've never listened to Test Match Live, listen to Test Match Live. If you've never been to Lord's, go and have a look, either online or go to Lord's if you can ever get a ticket to go. Oh, and if you ever want a ticket to Lord's, by the way, you can always ask me. Maybe we could go to some event as guests. I don't know. Always happy to try, though. But look, to summarize, renovating a lawn, it's a job. It's an intensive job, but you reset the lawn. And when you put it to bed by putting the covers over the seeds to germinate, it's a waiting game, isn't it? But when they come off, it's a celebration of continuation that things are going to get back growing. And I guess that's what I felt today. It's a bit like the covers are off. Play is back. Excellent. Anyway, those pesky weeds, of which there are some buttercups in the lawn, actually quite a spread of them. I shall manage those appropriately in a few weeks' time once the grass has up and matured a little bit, in order that I don't stress the grass out by putting a weed killer around it. Anyway, one does ramble, doesn't one? So I hope, my friends, I hope you enjoy your journeys with me. The 12-minute journey you had with me today. Anyway, check out some of the other rambling podcasts if you want to continue to hang with me for a while. Anyway, look, thanks for listening. As always, take care of yourself, and I'll catch you very soon. Ta-da! Bye! See ya! Adios! Bye! I love cricket, by the way, especially watching it. See ya!